Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm back for once again via the Maxi Toys videos. And yes, welcome back to my last play of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles via the Sega Mega Drive / Sega Genesis. So last time we actually did showcase off the competition mode of how this game usually offers. Here's a grand total of 5 different stages on that particular mode. And today for this episode of this particular video of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles is that originally I was supposed to be saying that to you guys about I was going to showcase off the Tails' features about the, Jufral and Tails standalone story. Unfortunately that's not going to happen because I will discuss more to that details onto that as soon as we actually get into. But this premise of this episode for the time being is the fact that I'm going to begin with the Knuckles' segment this time around. So even then though, that we're about to be going through the entire game again, but this time playing with Knuckles the Echidna, aka a newcomer introduced into the playable characters department in the Sonic franchise. So yeah, let's get this thing started. Okay, start things off with the first zone in the actual game, which is obviously Angel Island Zone, so even then, that we've already been into this place before as Sonic and Tails before one hand, but this time with Knuckles the Echidna, aka on his own home island. So, how it works for Knuckles in this game specifically? Well, he plays almost exactly feels identical to Sonic and Tails, except the fact that, well, Sonic does obtain himself a spin dash, just like how it does that, well, Knuckles usually has some spin dash, just like Sonic and Tails can. And however though, if you actually be playing as Tails alone, that he has the ability to fly, which I think I've sort of slightly mentioned that in the during the last video ago, or something like that, during the competition mode. But even then though, that Knuckles' ability was actually completely different, which is a form of the gliding ability, where this allows you, in order to actually perform it, is that you have to actually jump in midair and just press the jump button again to actually glide. So, it might be really handy for you. Oh, but first things first. Oh yeah, by the way, if you guys would be very curious about the what just happened right there, it's probably because I actually did jump cut off screen for that little special stages department as in Knuckles' run through, because basically for the special stages department for Knuckles, it plays exactly similar to Sonic and Tails version, because you go for the exact same special stages even though it doesn't have any layout differences, unless if you're playing through the Blue Spheres game, which you can only insert, especially if you ever play on the Mega Drive version, most likely on the original cartridge. If you actually play Sonic 1 or any other Mega Drive games for that matter, you do have the ability to play through Blue Spheres, which is usually the other type of game that you can actually play on the Mega Drive. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, and for the Blue Spheres, it's actually basically heavily based off of the special stages department in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. So I just want to point things out right now. So, yeah. Anyways, back onto Knuckles' gliding ability. What that allows you can do is that you can actually manage to fly across the bottomless pit and stuff like that, especially when we get into the latest levels in Knuckles' segment. So even then, that we'll get into that in a moment temporarily. So, and also as you can clearly see like a couple of seconds ago, is that Knuckles can actually climb on walls, which can be really helpful for you if you actually discover some secrets. Which I believe is probably the coolest thing about Knuckles to me, because especially noticeable if you're actually trying to find like some of these specific items that you haven't found in your entire journey, that you could probably just manage to actually just try to backtrack for a moment, so just in case you'll actually just find something completely valuable to you. So, anyway, so now you guys are probably thinking that I was originally going to be saying that the Knuckles' playthrough should be just about to be started until at the very beginning of next month, which should be May. However, though, thanks to we actually did manage to push forward a little bit, so in this case today was actually form of the 29th of April. And speaking of such though, is that recently, during yesterday, is that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for Nintendo Switch has been just released today, or in this case recently released yesterday, in all of these territories, which is usually all the regions, which is quite surprising because we don't usually have those exactly the same release dates on every countries in commonly, because well, most of the time they just release on their different dates. So yeah, I thought it was worth mentioning. So and from what I've heard about the reviews of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it's been a really great success. So, you know. Oh, anyway, as I was saying, that about the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Nintendo Switch reviews, it's been really a huge success on this particular version so far. Like, I think it did manage to improve on the battle system so far, which I think is really good. And also that, you know, the frame rate was now in proper 60 frames per second instead of odd 59 in the original Wii U version. So even then, that's probably how it should be done for that part. So anyway, since this is a Knuckles playthrough, is that we can't actually go up there, unlike Sonic and Tails. Instead, we can actually go underneath here, that unlike Sonic and Tails, that we don't usually explore down here. So, in this case, we can now actually explore this bottom part of the level right near the end. So, even though you won't actually going to be coming across into the exact same bosses as some are so to Sonic and Tails version, but except the noticeable fact is that as you can see, that this boss fight has a different tactics. Although he still retains himself the flamethrower after all, but also he managed to now finally shoot these missiles from his back. So, yeah, some of the boss strategies are going to be a little bit more harder than the likes of Sonic and Tails version because of this. This is actually the hard mode of the game, because you remember in Sonic and Tails version, well, usually Sonic is considered to be the normal mode, and then Tails mode is considered to be the easy mode of the game, even though I just want to point things out right now. And Knuckles, on the other hand, is going to be the hard mode of the game, because if you couldn't tell already, that Knuckles' jump height wasn't exactly jumped nearly as high as Sonic and Tails can, so even then. And also that the level layouts is going to be alternated slightly, because for instance, we're actually now in Act 2 of Angel Island Zone, so this means we're now actually exploring the underground segment in Act 2 of Angel Island. You know what that means? It's time to actually avoid there's a whole bunch of spikes everywhere, and also some pretty tricky enemy contacts, and all that kinds of shenanigans like this, so... And also that you won't able to actually be seeing the tons of special stages on that particular act, unlike Sonic and Tails can, because even though we already collected 2 Chaos Emeralds so far as Knuckles, however though we can't actually get our ability to actually get these 2 Chaos Emeralds just in time on that particular act as Knuckles, I'm afraid. But even then, that's only because in this particular act we're going to be spending most of our time exploring the underground segment, so yeah, that's all there is to really think about for that one point or another, so... Anywho, though. So, originally I was going to be doing this as a first attempt on that particular recording section, like I did done it like a couple of days ago, naturally, before I was even prepared for it. But even then, though, unfortunately, I managed to actually try to, the original plan for that particular, this particular video right there has been completely scrapped, so even then I have to redo that, take. So, anyway, though. So that's the whole story of how this is the reason why that Knuckles' playthrough was getting pushed forward ahead of it. It's because of this, I just want to get this game done before when I'm assuming Piglet actually trying to actually deal with his redo playthrough of Sonic the Hedgehog 4. In this case for Episode 1, Episode Metal, and Episode 2, which you guys should probably already know. And plus, it might be a pretty good time for me to actually just be really excited about Sonic Mania, what's about to be revealed itself. So, anywho though. So yeah, that's all I can really say about Act 2 of Knuckles' segments, that you're gonna have to be exploring the underground segment most of the time, so even then, and also that there's no way we can actually get ourselves these other 2 Chaos Emeralds during the special stages in this particular act, you know, unlike in Sonic and Tails version, because obviously that those 2 characters did manage to get these 4 specific emeralds on that one particular zone, but except Knuckles. However though, we're still able to get a chance to get ourselves all of these 7 Chaos Emeralds, and even Super Emeralds included, so even then though, much like Sonic's playthrough, or even Tails' playthrough, although I think I sort of, although I will talk more to that as soon as we get into the Hydro City Zone. Even then though, that's, perhaps it's more likely, I will actually going to be showing case, or in this case, I will eventually try to actually go after all 7 of these Chaos Emeralds, including all 7 of these Super Emeralds, just like in Sonic's counterpart. But except the notable difference was, though, is that, even though I've already showcased off these entire special stages department as Sonic, but even then, though, this time around, though, I'm actually going to be cutting footage of the special stages department in this Knuckles' playthrough this time around. So, anyways, here we are on to this next boss battle right here as Knuckles, but this time we're actually going to be encountering a new foe. Which, according to the in-game's manual or something like that Knuckles' new foe is not Dr. Robotnik, but the likes of the Egg Robo, which is, you know, these enemies that we already encountered in Sky Sanctuary Zone as Sonic and Tails as well. But even then though, that apparently the egg robot was supposed to be now a new foe for Knuckles, so no Dr. Robotnik involved until we actually get into later. So anyways, that concludes Angel Island Zone Act 2. That feels completely different than the likes of Sonic's counterpart. And right off the bat though, we don't usually get the bridge destroyed, instead we actually jump off the bridge, so that's another noticeable difference right here. But although I will admit though, is that in Act 1 of Hydro City Zone is not completely changed quite significantly. It's just basically the exact same thing as Sonic and Tails version. So anyways, I will actually discuss onto the how the reason why that Tails' playthrough is not going to happen, and also the extra stuff of how Tails' exclusive stuff that I would like to show you guys originally. Although the thing is, guys, is because of the strict developing time on that video is being run out of time, and also that judging by the fact it might be a little bit too much of its hard work while doing editing when it comes to filming stuff, and also that it plays exactly similar to Sonic's story. You go for the exact same zones to each other. Although, there's one unique thing I have to admit though with Tails though. Although, first things first, I'm gonna cut myself there. Anyways, 3 Chaos Emeralds down and only, obviously 4 more to go. So even then though, that should be not that much of a, quite significance here. So anyway, when it comes to Tails though, however, that, as I mentioned this to you earlier from the competition mode, and especially in the beginning part of Knuckles' playthrough, is that Tails actually has the ability to fly. And however though, that unlike in Sonic 2, that in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, specifically the original game of Sonic 2, is that he can't able to actually fly to begin with. But even then though, that, oh god, I'm actually gonna be drowning right here. I need to get a bubble. Come on, bubble, get out. Come out. Come out. Okay, good. Oh, good. I almost died right there, because even though I might be getting a little bit nerve-wracking right there. But anywho. So yeah, with Tails' abilities, that it actually feels exactly almost identical to the Game Gear Sonic title, which is called Sonic Chaos. But even then though, Sonic Chaos usually came out before Sonic the Hedgehog 3 came around. But even then, I think that's probably true. But yeah, I'll talk more to that little details about this all kinds of stuff and, forget it. But anyway, so, if you actually you're still able to get, 7 Chaos Emeralds as Tails, and especially noticeable in all 7 of these Super Emeralds as Tails. But except the noticeable thing about this is that if you collect all 7 of these Chaos Emeralds as Tails, you don't have the ability to become a Super Formation with, all Super Transformation as from the Chaos Emeralds Formation. However though, if you grab all 7 of these Super Emeralds as Tails, you do have a Super Transformation as Tails, which is known as Super Tails. For that Super Tails transformation is that this allows you to actually have yourselves 4 flicky armies right surrounding on you. So even then though, that taking a note from Sonic Events 2 Cream the Rabbit playable character, and you know, they have the ability to actually use Cheese the Chow to actually cheat at the boss fight. However though, this is exactly feels equivalent to Cheese the Chow from Cream the Rabbit in Sonic Events 2. But you know the action button, the B button attack, that you get to like cheat the boss fight a little bit more in. And even then though, that Super Tails kind of reminds me of that ability. But even then, that's unlike how it does it in Cream the Rabbit's Cheese the Chow technique, where you cheat the boss fight. But even then though, that because she's usually broken on that game. But even then though, oh yeah, this is another reason that how it makes it a little bit different compared to Sonic and Tails version. You're no longer going to actually spin dash onto that specific blocks that can block your pathway, and specifically in Hydro City Zone Act 2. So even then though, you can prowl through everything without even no sweat. Because of this though, is that Knuckles usually can have some really good capabilities of, punching those fists to actually punch those specific walls. Which, that's the thing I really loved about this game, is that you can actually just manage to really tell of what the different characters' attributes are. But even then though, I still kind of like playing as Tails. But even then though, there's another reason that it makes Tails a little bit more different compared to Sonic. It's the fact that in Marble Garden Zone Act 2 boss fight, that you don't have to deal with this boss battle as both Sonic and Tails flying together, and then Sonic can deal all the work. Instead, that Tails can actually damage Dr. Robotnik's drill machine kind of contraption into the bottom part instead of the top, because even then, you don't carry Sonic along with you. So yeah, because of this though, that boss fight is a little bit tougher than Sonic's version because you don't have Sonic to begin with. So that's the thing I want to point things out right here. So And yeah, in order to actually get yourself Super Tails though, however, is that you need to just specifically get Super Emeralds, or in this case, all 7 of these Super Emeralds. But even then though, if you get all 7 of these Chaos Emeralds as Tails, you probably noticed that just like in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, if you get all 7 of these Chaos Emeralds as Tails, you don't instantly transform into a Super form as Tails, so a little bit odd right there, but even then though, that, unlike, Super Sonic, when you get, like, all 7 of these regular Chaos Emeralds as Sonic. And then, especially noticeable in Super Knuckles, as from Knuckles' playthrough. So even then, though, we won't actually discuss onto Super Knuckles until later. But for now on, let's go ahead and a little bit have a thrill fun ride in, Hydro City Zone Act 2. So even then, though, that's all I can really talk about. So, anywho. So yeah, another thing I'd like to point things out though is that recently that Nintendo actually announced there's going to be another new model, which is specifically not on the 3DS, but on Nintendo 2DS, which is called New Nintendo 2DS XL, which is basically Nintendo 2DS, but in an XL formation, and it now has a clamshell instead of like, you know, just one on... I can't remember what I can describe about that design. But anyway though, but instead of that, although it still actually retains the non-3D effect kind of system, but instead it's all most likely in 2D effort. And also that, judging by the fact, it feels very similar to how it does in new Nintendo 3DS XL, but except with some little bit of a differences for what I've remembered. Although I will discuss more to that design of that particular, you know, new Nintendo 2DS XL until we actually discuss on that in the later time down the road. But for now though, let's go ahead and find ourselves the next special stage ring, which should be just right here. Alright, 4 Chaos Emeralds down, and only 3 more to go, so even then though, we're pretty much in the halfway point of getting this Chaos Emeralds as Knuckles, so... And plus, one thing I need to point things out though is the fact that since we're going to be playing as the entire game again as Knuckles, or in this case the entire game again, but this time with Knuckles, you probably noticed that some of the levels can be a little bit shorter compared to Sonic and Tails version, or even just a little bit more, tad bit more longer compared to Sonic and Tails version in some of these specific zones or acts. But even then, we'll never know until we actually get into the later zones, most notably in Marble Garden Zone, because we'll discuss more to that topic until we get to later. So from now on, let's go ahead and just, you know, have a little bit of a joyride. So yeah, when it comes to the new Nintendo 2DS XL, I found it's a little bit alright when it comes to that design, but even then, no, it feels exactly equivalent to how it does it in new Nintendo 3DS XL, but except there's a little bit of a difference is what I've remembered, as I mentioned this before. I believe the home button is actually in a different place instead of the bottom center in the original new Nintendo 3DS designs, even for the XL version. I believe it was actually on the left corner this time, somewhat very similar placement as is somewhat so to the power button from the Nintendo DSi, or even the DSi XL for that little interpretation. And also the C-stick is still present there, which sure enough that can be used for Xenoblade Chronicles 3D as a matter of fact, which is still present here. And also that I think the fast processing is still present on that specific console as well. And I'm assuming that Z, L, and ZR button triggers are still present once again. But even then though, I've noticed that the clamshell, and especially the center part, is actually a little bit more different. I'm assuming that the outer camera eyes is not on the top part of the clamshell this time around, because instead it was actually on the bottom leaf of the console, which is a little bit of an odd placement. And also that the inner camera interface is actually on the between of these little clamshells, which does remind me of almost related to feels very similar to how it does it on Nintendo DSi design with the inner camera interface. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to say the least. But even then, I'm not gonna get that particular console because, you know, I'm not just getting used to it though. Alright, 5 Chaos Emeralds down and only 2 more to go, so I'm assuming I might actually get the last 2 Chaos Emeralds on that specific next zone, which should definitely be Marble Garden Zone, so I will try my best if I actually try to find them. So anyway, since this is Knuckles' playthrough, so there's no longer going to be a switch somewhere, so that's kind of a cool thing right there. And also that, judging by the fact that we actually bust out this little wall without any cracks whatsoever, so even then, we can now actually explore in this area right here, so even then, that you're gonna have to be either get onto those little spinny top platforms, or you can just essentially climb up the wall. But the thing is though, is if you actually reach onto that specific area, well not in this area mind you, but until the next area, is the fact that we're actually going to be discovering through there's going to be a whole abundance of spikes, because you rather know why, because you're going to be doing a lot of gliding, because obviously that, you know, Knuckles' abilities do require you to actually dodge those specific spikes until you actually do a gliding technique. So yeah, that's the thing. Again, that's another reason that I really love this game so much, is that the fact that depends on what characters you'll be using. Sometimes you're actually going to be going onto their different routes, or in this case, different routes, as a matter of fact. But even then, though, that's the only reason that a lot of people seem to actually really love this so far, because especially noticeable when you actually go into different versions of the levels themselves. It's specifically in different sections, but even then, though, that's all I really can talk about at this point. So as far as the actual boss battle on this particular part right there, it feels exactly like how it does it in the Sonic and Tails version. But except the fact that as soon as when he starts to doing this little twirly technique right there, now he actually just goes up and do it instead of like dipping down and activate it. So that's gonna be a little bit more trickier for the most part. So I think that's what we're really going for here. So. And the final thing I'd like to discuss about is that, yes, I've recently saw myself a new trailer of Cars 3, and for what I've noticed, I'm actually going to be slightly excited for it, but even though I wasn't exactly sure 100% fully though, because I remember when I was so excited to actually see Inside Out, and especially noticeable in Finding Dory back in last year as well, and even especially noticeable in Zootropolis here and now as well. But even then though, I wasn't really sure I was really going to be seeing Cars 3 just yet until when the latest trailers is about to come. But even then though, we only got about like, let's just say 2 months ahead, or even 3 months ahead, and specifically onto UK release date. So I'm assuming the UK release date on Cars 3, I believe it's going to be coming out until at some point in the 14th of July or something like that. But even then, we'll have to find this out until just about any second here. So yeah, it's going to be the 14th. So yeah, for that, if you defeat that boss fight normally, is that you get up to, as you can see on that footage right there, even though I don't have any discussions to talk about. So anyways, let's go ahead and end things off here. So join me next time on Let's Play Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles' story. Is the fact we're moving on to Marble Garden Zone. So, whoa!